Thank you, Constance. Thank you for that nice introduction. I guess, unlike my colleagues from ERS, I think I wasn't invited here for my pretty face. I was invited here because of my position. So I don't think I can invoke the, don't attribute this to USDA disclaimer. And I will try to adhere to the policy guidelines as much as possible. And we are people, and so naturally each of our own individual thoughts creeps into our policy discussions. As Constance mentioned, our job is to advise the Secretary, other top officials, and ultimately the White House on the implications of policies and regulations and proposed legislation and market conditions and everything that's happening related to agriculture in rural America. And what are the economic consequences of those different actions and activities? And so that means we need that information, we need the analysis, and we need a toolkit. And that's why we need to work very closely with ERS and with NASS and with the information generating agencies within USDA and in the universities. And we have cooperative agreements with the policy research centers to be able to have that toolkit at the ready, because we don't have the luxury of getting a question from the Secretary and then saying, oh, great, we'll come back to you, we'll put together a research team, and we'll come back to you in a year and a half with an answer. It doesn't work that way. So I really do appreciate the work of this group to try to anticipate what are the needs going down the road 5-10 years from now. What do we need to know? What does Ag Econ have to contribute to the discussion that we'll have those results available and we'll have those tools built to be able to answer questions quickly. And then more broadly within USDA, I think that the agricultural and applied economics contribution is to provide that data, information, and analysis to facilitate efficient markets domestically and internationally. And a short word for that is provide transparency. And that's what kind of the background that I've come from in my USDA career, and I carry that in my current position is what can we do to provide more transparency to the markets so that the trade knows what's happening and so that they know what production is looking like, and not just here but abroad, and what kind of tools can we use. And so I do raise those kind of questions that Hubert asked. What can we do to take advantage of the data that are being collected at the farm level? Are farmers willing to share that? Not just for program administration like FSA or risk management agency, but also to NASS. Would you be willing to do one less survey if you were sharing that information, if you felt like it was being protected? So we do have those kinds of questions. But what is the quality of the data? Are you being careful about calibrating your precision ag equipment, your yield monitors, so that when we pull a yield from there, is it accurate? So that's something that I think is a cross-cutting thing that affects both the productivity on the farm, but also could feed into bigger decisions. I just wanted to talk a little bit about where the issues that we see coming down in the very near future and the kind of things that we're working on, and how information at the farm level and that this group would be interested in feeding into. And I think it echoes a lot of the discussion that we've already heard. What are the things that are being talked about? Regulations, obviously, are being talked about a lot. We have the executive order that says that for every new rule you put out, you have to take back 2 other rules. Well, which other 2 rules are going to be taken back, and what are the implications of taking away those rules? Does that mean that we're willing to trade off, let's say, food safety for something else that we need to accomplish because we need to modernize our food safety inspection? Are we willing to where does the non-GMO labeling law fit into this? That's something that AMS is tasked with implementing. We think that it's probably going to be exempt from this requirement because it's a mandate from Congress. But if it's not, we expect that to be a very costly, that would be very costly to implement. And what kind of information do we have on cost and benefits of that? Because there will have to be a regulatory impact analysis associated with that. Sanitary and phytosanitary issues related with opening up markets and with trade. We had a lot of concern when we opened up to fresh beef from Argentina and from parts of Brazil. What's the possibility of introduction of foot and mouth disease? And I think that the Brazilian beef inspection scandal kind of heightens those concerns that we have among livestock producers in the United States. Do we have the proper controls and mitigations? And again, are there data, are there big data kind of tools that we can use to draw on to assure ourselves that we're making the right decisions at the right time? The 2018 Farm Bill, as Mary mentioned, is certainly at the forefront. The discussions have already commenced. We know what areas I think are likely to be looked at, and we need to have the tools ready to go to be able to talk about those kind of things. Labor markets and immigration issues are important to us. We do have a person in our office who's responsible for, as our labor affairs coordinator in USDA. We don't really have direct regulatory authority, but we can articulate to the State Department and to the Department of Labor, well, what does this mean if you're proposing changes in visa requirements or you're proposing changes in immigration law? What does that mean for the farm community? And not just farmers, but the processors as well. Climate change and climate adaptation, sustainability, the bioeconomy, these are all important areas that we need to keep looking at. And sort of regardless of where we stand as a government in terms of our commitments to the climate change and the climate accord, our customers are demanding that, either internationally and domestically. You know, the big processors are asking for information about sustainability because they do want to make those labels and be able to market on those characteristics. So we still need to have the tools available at the farm level to be able to communicate through the food chain. What does this product, what does consumption of this product mean in terms of sustainability, in terms of carbon usage, and those kinds of things. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up. I guess one area that I did want to mention that I didn't include is mergers and acquisitions and consolidation is obviously big on the radar screen. In terms of agricultural input industries, you've all heard about the big consolidations taking place in the seed industry and in the pesticides and farm protection, crop protection areas. And also on the output side is we've had those long-standing kind of discussions and debates about market power potentially exercised by the buyers of agricultural products. So these are kind of some of the broad areas where we see that this group can certainly contribute to. And with that, I guess we open up to questions.
Thank you.